She gave back every penny he offered. That's when the rich rancher felt Christmas in his heart. Clara stepped off the dusty wagon and looked around the small town with wide eyes. It was winter, but the snow had barely begun to fall, leaving the streets cold and empty. She pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders and adjusted the scarf that her mother had knitted for her. Clara had traveled for days to reach this town. She didn't have much money, and she wasn't looking for a handout. She just wanted a place to work honestly, and maybe, just maybe, a chance at a new life. The town was quiet, except for the sound of horses clopping on the wooden streets and the occasional bell ringing from the small church at the center. Shops lined the streets, their windows decorated with modest holiday ornaments. There was a smell of wood smoke in the air, mixed with the faint scent of baked bread. Clara felt a strange mixture of hope and nervousness. She had always been independent, working on farms and helping her family whenever she could. She wasn't used to relying on anyone else, and she didn't plan to start now. As she walked past the main street, a large carriage rolled up, pulling her attention immediately. It was polished and shiny, with brass fittings that gleamed in the winter sunlight. The horses were well fed and sleek, their hooves making a rhythmic sound on the wooden planks of the street. Out of the carriage stepped a man dressed in fine clothes. His coat was dark and expensive-looking, his boots polished to perfection. He had a confident air, almost like he owned the world around him. This man was Cole, the richest rancher in the county. He had a reputation for being generous, but he was also known for his pride and his way of getting what he wanted. Cole noticed Clara immediately. There was something in the way she walked, her head held high, her eyes clear and steady, that caught his attention. She didn't look around in awe or fear like most people did when they saw him. Instead, she seemed calm, self-assured, and completely focused on her own path. Intrigued, Cole called out to her. "Hello there, you look like someone who could use a warm meal," he said with a friendly but commanding tone. Clara stopped and turned to face him. She could feel his eyes on her, assessing, curious. She didn't smile or bow. Instead, she gave a polite nod. "Thank you, sir," she replied. "I'll be fine." "I can manage." Cole raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. Most people would have been flustered, but Clara seemed completely at ease. He had heard about many people coming to the town looking for favors or handouts, but she didn't fit the usual pattern. He walked closer, his boots clicking on the wooden street. "Are you new here?" he asked, trying to start a conversation. "Yes, sir," Clara replied simply. "I'm looking for work. I can cook, clean, or help with farm work. Anything honest." Cole smiled, though a hint of surprise showed in his eyes. Most people don't answer that way. They usually ask for money or expect something in return. You seem different. "I've never been one to take what isn't earned," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "I appreciate kindness, but I want to work for what I have. That's the way I was raised." Cole felt a strange admiration for her. He had never met someone who spoke with such dignity and pride, especially a young woman who had come alone to his town. He could tell she wasn't just saying these words, she truly meant them. But his curiosity wasn't just admiration. He was also challenged. He liked getting people to accept his generosity. It was rare that someone refused him. "Well," he said, reaching into his coat pocket, "perhaps a little help wouldn't hurt. Here, take this." He held out a small pouch filled with coins, hoping she would accept it. Clara looked at the pouch but didn't reach for it. Instead, she shook her head gently. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't accept this. I have to earn my own way." Cole blinked. Few people ever refused him outright. Most were flattered and accepted quickly. Clara's refusal wasn't rude, but it was firm, polite, and unwavering. He couldn't hide the surprise in his eyes. "Are you serious?" he asked, almost laughing. "I am," she said. "I appreciate your offer, but I cannot take money I haven't earned. It's not right for me." Cole studied her face closely. There was no trick, no hidden motive, no hesitation. She was genuine, and that honesty surprised him. He had met many people in his life, wealthy, poor, proud, humble, but Clara was unlike anyone he had ever encountered. He felt a mix of admiration and frustration. He wanted to test her, to see if she would remain steadfast. "Well, then," he said finally, "I guess we'll see how you handle the town." He gave her a small nod, half in challenge, half in respect. "I run the largest ranch in the county. If you're looking for honest work, you might find it there." Clara's eyes lit up. "I would be grateful for any opportunity, sir. I promise to work hard." Cole smiled faintly. "I like your spirit. Let's see what you can do." As Clara continued walking through the town, she noticed the other people watching her interactions with Cole. Some whispered quietly, others looked impressed. She didn't care about the attention. She only cared about finding work and making a life for herself. Yet, She could sense that her presence and her refusal to accept easy money had already made an impression. She stopped outside a small inn that had a help wanted sign. The innkeeper, a kind woman with a warm smile, welcomed Clara inside. She offered her a cup of hot tea, and Clara gratefully accepted. As she sipped, she felt a small sense of relief. She had made it this far, and she still had her pride intact. Later that day, Cole returned to the town square, curious about Clara's actions. He watched her from a distance, seeing how she helped the innkeeper clean and organize, how she interacted politely with the townspeople, and how she carried herself with quiet dignity. He felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a feeling that he hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't just admiration. It was something deeper. By evening, Clara had earned her first small wage for her work at the inn. She smiled as she counted the coins, careful and deliberate. Each coin felt like a victory, not because of its value, but because it represented her independence and determination. She thought of her mother, who had always taught her to be strong and honest. Clara felt proud knowing she was living by those lessons. Cole, meanwhile, rode back to his ranch that evening. He couldn't stop thinking about Clara. Her refusal of money, her confidence, and her honesty had touched something inside him. For all his wealth, he realized he had rarely met anyone who valued integrity over gold. She had come into his life unexpectedly, and already she had made an impression that he could not ignore. That night, as snowflakes began to fall softly on the town, Clara lay in her modest room at the inn. She thought about her journey, the town, and the strange encounter with the rich rancher. She knew she had many challenges ahead, but she also felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this town and this unexpected encounter would be the beginning of something meaningful. As Cole sat by the fireplace in his grand home miles away, he stared into the flames, thinking of Clara. He realized that sometimes the simplest acts of honesty and pride could have the most profound effect. He didn't yet know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. Clara was not like anyone he had ever met, and somehow she had already begun to change him. The first snow of the season continued to fall, gently covering the town in a soft white blanket. It was the start of a new chapter for both Clara and Cole. One was seeking work, dignity, and independence, and the other, unknowingly, was about to discover the true meaning of generosity, kindness, and perhaps the first stirrings of a heart touched by something more than wealth. The winter days passed quickly in the small town. Snow had started to blanket the streets, softening the rough edges of the wooden planks and rooftops. Clara had settled into her routine at the inn, cooking, cleaning, and helping travelers. The innkeeper often praised her work, calling her reliable and steady, which made Clara smile quietly to herself. It felt good to be appreciated for her effort, not just her appearance or charm. Cole, meanwhile, couldn't get Clara out of his mind. He had never met someone who refused his generosity with such calm confidence. It frustrated him in a way he had never experienced before. He wanted to offer her more, gifts, money, even opportunities. But every time he tried, she returned it with polite refusals. The stubbornness in her heart, as he called it, intrigued him. One cold morning, Cole rode into town on his horse, the leather of his gloves creaking as he adjusted the reins. He noticed Clara sweeping the front steps of the inn, the winter wind tugging at her scarf and hair. She looked up and smiled politely when she saw him, but she did not stop her work. Cole dismounted, brushing snow off his boots as he approached her. "Good morning, Clara," he said warmly. "You're up early." Clara nodded. "Yes, sir. There is much to do. The guests will need their breakfast soon." Cole smiled, but felt a pang of impatience. "If you've been refusing my offers for some time now, I have to admit I don't understand. Most people would be flattered or grateful." Her eyes were clear, honest, and unwavering. "I appreciate your generosity, sir," she said. "But I cannot accept what I have not earned. It is not a question of pride. It is a question of integrity. I want to earn my living, not take what is freely offered." Cole frowned slightly, realizing that her words were not meant to insult him, but were simply her way of living. It struck him that her refusal was not rebellion, it was strength. He had met many people in his life who had been impressed by wealth or status, but Clara was different. She valued honesty over riches, effort over shortcuts. "I see," he said finally, trying to hide the admiration in his voice. "Very well. I respect that. But perhaps I can challenge you in another way." "How so?" Cole gestured toward his ranch just beyond the town. "I have a large ranch outside of town. There is always work to be done. You are welcome to help if you wish. No money this time, just honest work. You can show me what you are capable of." Clara considered the offer, It was honest work, and she was willing to prove herself. "I would be grateful, sir," she said. "I will do my best." Over the next few days, Clara spent long hours at Cole's ranch. She helped feed the animals, repair fences, and prepare meals for the ranch hands. It was physically demanding work, but she approached it with determination and care. Every task she completed earned her quiet satisfaction. She didn't need Cole's approval, but she noticed the occasional approving glance he gave her. It made her feel respected, not for her looks or charm, but for her work and character. Cole, on the other hand, became more determined to impress her. He tried small gestures, offering warm blankets, freshly baked pies, and gifts of fine clothing. But each time, Clara returned them politely. "Thank you, sir, but I cannot accept this," she said. "I must earn my own way." Her refusals were never rude, never dismissive. They were simple, kind, and firm. Cole began to realize that no amount of wealth could sway her. He had always believed that generosity could earn admiration and loyalty, but Clara proved him wrong. Her character was stronger than anything money could buy. One evening, after a long day at the ranch, Cole invited Clara to sit by the fire in the main house. The ranch hands were busy in the barn, leaving the two of them alone. Snow fell softly outside, and the warmth of the fireplace made the room cozy. Cole poured 2 cups of cocoa and handed one to Clara. "You work hard," he said quietly. "I have never met anyone like you. You have integrity, strength, and a heart that does not bend to wealth or power." Clara smiled faintly. "Thank you, sir. I have always believed that honesty and hard work matter more than riches. It is not always easy, but it is worth it." Cole studied her face, feeling something unfamiliar, a warmth that had nothing to do with money or pride. He realized he had never known a feeling like this before. Clara had made him see the world differently, even in a short time. She had reminded him that life was not about possessions, but about respect, effort, and kindness. Over the next few weeks, Cole found himself visiting the ranch more often than necessary. He would watch Clara work, sometimes helping, sometimes just observing. He tried to understand her world. The simple routines, the satisfaction of a day's honest labor, the way she treated every living creature with care. It was a world he had never experienced, wrapped in the comfort of wealth and distance from ordinary life. Not a romantic bond, at least not yet, but a mutual respect. Cole would speak quietly about her courage, and others noticed that he seemed softer, kinder. Clara, for her part, remained steady and grounded. She did not allow attention or flattery to distract her from her work or principles. One snowy afternoon, Cole challenged Clara with a particularly difficult task. A fence had collapsed during a recent windstorm, and the horses had wandered near the forest. Clara was asked to repair the fence and guide the animals safely back. She worked tirelessly, braving the cold wind and snow, and finally managed to secure the fence and bring the horses home. Cole watched her from a distance, impressed. He had tried to test her patience and strength, but she exceeded his expectations. Instead of offering money, he simply said, "You did well, Clara. Very well." Silently, "Thank you, sir. It is my duty to care for the animals and the ranch. I am glad they are safe." Cole realized then that her satisfaction came not from praise or reward, but from doing what was right. He had never known such fulfillment. It was a lesson he did not expect to learn from a stranger in his own town. As Christmas approached, the snow fell thicker, blanketing the ranch in white. Clara and Cole worked side by side, preparing the ranch for the holiday. Clara decorated the stable with simple wreaths and ribbons, and Cole brought small gifts for the ranch hands. Yet he held back from giving anything to Clara. He was not sure if any gift could be accepted or if it would change anything. That night, as they sat by the fire after a long day, Cole spoke softly. "You have taught me something I did not know I needed to learn," he said. "Integrity, patience, and kindness. I have wealth, but I realize now that wealth alone does not bring fulfillment. You have shown me that." Clara looked at him with gentle eyes. "I am glad to hear that, sir. It is my hope that everyone can find fulfillment in their own way, not by the wealth they have, but by the good they do and the work they put in." Cole smiled, feeling an unusual warmth in his chest. For the first time, he felt the spirit of the season, not in gifts or riches, but in understanding, respect, and a quiet joy that came from honesty and effort. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew that Clara had changed his perspective forever. The snow fell heavily that night, covering the ranch in a soft white blanket. Clara lay in her small room in the ranch house, tired but content. She thought about the week, the work, and the man who had tried to offer her everything, yet learned so much from her in return. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she felt a quiet hope. Cole, meanwhile, sat alone by the fire, staring into the flames. He thought of Clara and realized that she had touched his heart in a way money never could. For the first time in years, he felt the warmth of something deeper, a sense of joy, respect, and perhaps even the first stirrings of love, though neither of them would call it that yet. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, but inside the ranch house, the fire burned bright, filling the room with warmth. Clara and Cole had come to understand each other in ways words alone could not capture. One was learning patience and humility, the other was learning integrity and independence. And as Christmas drew near, both of them felt that something special was quietly beginning, one honest step at a time. The night before Christmas arrived, and the town was quiet under a thick blanket of snow. The soft glow of lanterns reflected off the white rooftops, casting warm circles of light along the streets. Clara had spent the day helping at the inn, preparing a small holiday feast for the townspeople and travelers passing through. She hummed quietly to herself as she arranged the tables, making sure everything looked cheerful and inviting. Despite the cold, there was a sense of hope and warmth in the air, a spirit that seemed to touch everyone who walked through the door. Cole rode into town that evening on his horse, his heavy coat pulled tightly around him. He had been restless all day, thinking about Clara and the lessons she had unknowingly taught him. Her honesty, determination, and independence had touched a part of him that had been cold and distant for years. He had wealth, power, and influence, but he realized that none of that mattered if it could not bring him a sense of purpose, connection, and true kindness. As he dismounted in front of the inn, he noticed Clara through the frosted window, arranging a small tree in the corner of the room. It was simple, decorated with ribbons, pine cones, and a few handmade ornaments. Her smile was gentle, and her focus on the details reminded him of something long forgotten, a sense of care for others without expecting anything in return. Cole quietly entered the inn and approached her. "Clara," he said softly, trying not to startle her. Clara looked up and smiled politely. "Good evening, sir. Merry Christmas Eve." Cole nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest he had not felt before. "Merry Christmas, Clara," he said. "You've done a wonderful job here. The inn looks perfect." Clara's cheeks flushed slightly at his praise, but she shook her head modestly. "Thank you, sir. It's nothing special. I just wanted to make people feel welcome." He realized that her simple acts of kindness, her care for others, and her refusal to accept unearned rewards had changed him more than he expected. He had spent so many years trying to impress others, to give gifts and expect admiration, but she had shown him that the truest form of generosity was giving without expectation, and the truest form of wealth was integrity and kindness. He cleared his throat and spoke, his voice low and sincere. "Clara, I have tried to offer you everything I could think of, money, gifts, comfort, but you have refused everything. And yet, in refusing, you've given me something more valuable than I ever imagined. You've shown me what it truly means to care, to respect, and to give without wanting anything in return." Clara's eyes softened. "I'm glad, sir. That is all I hope for, to do right by others, even in small ways. That is the greatest gift anyone can give." Cole felt something shift within him. He realized that he had been chasing the wrong things for so long. Money, possessions, pride. They had never brought him true happiness. But Clara had reminded him that joy comes from honesty, effort, and genuine connection. And in her quiet, steadfast way, she had awakened in him a warmth he had never known. Outside, the wind howled, but inside the inn, the fire crackled and flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Cole stepped closer to the window and looked out at the snow-covered town. He knew that many families were struggling, that some children might wake on Christmas morning with little to open. And in that moment, he made a decision that Clara had inspired without even knowing it. "I want to do something," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Something that matters, something that will bring joy to those who need it most." "What do you mean, sir?" Cole turned to her, his eyes reflecting the firelight. "I want to help the families in this town. I want to provide gifts for the children, food for those who do not have enough, and warmth for those who are cold. Not to show off, not to gain admiration, but because it is the right thing to do." Clara's eyes sparkled with surprise and delight. "That is wonderful, sir. I am sure the town will be so grateful. And the children, they will be so happy." Cole nodded. "Yes, and it is thanks to you, Clara. Your honesty, your integrity, and your refusal to accept what you have not earned, it has reminded me what really matters. You have given me a gift I cannot repay with money." Together, they worked late into the night, organizing baskets of food, small toys, and warm clothing. Cole coordinated with the townspeople quietly, making sure each gift reached the right family without any fuss. Clara helped carry the baskets, her heart swelling with quiet joy. For her, the work itself was the reward, the knowledge that others would feel a little happiness, a little hope this Christmas. As the clock neared midnight, they stepped outside to admire the snow-covered town. Lanterns glowed softly along the streets, and the air smelled of pine and wood smoke. Cole turned to Clara, feeling a deep sense of peace he had never known. "Clara," he said softly, "I have spent so many years trying to impress the world with wealth and power, but tonight I have learned the most important lesson. True generosity comes from the heart, not the wallet. True wealth comes from kindness, integrity, and love. And you have taught me that. I am glad, sir. That is the greatest gift I could hope to give." As midnight struck, the town seemed to hold its breath. Snow continued to fall gently, covering rooftops, trees, and streets in a soft white blanket. Families awoke to find gifts and food left at their doors, small miracles that brought tears of joy and laughter in equal measure. Children woke with wide eyes, opening boxes of toys and books, not knowing who had provided them. Parents hugged each other tightly, grateful for the kindness of a stranger, or perhaps a few strangers, who had made their Christmas bright. Cole watched from a distance, his heart full. He realized that no amount of money could bring the feeling he had now. The joy in the town, the smiles on the children's faces, and the quiet pride in Clara's eyes had given him something far greater than wealth. He had felt Christmas in his heart for the first time in years. Clara, tired but happy, looked at Cole. "Town is full of joy tonight," she said softly. "I think this is the happiest Christmas many of them have had. And it is the happiest Christmas I have ever had, not because of gifts, but because of what I have learned from you. You have given me more than anything money could ever buy. You've given me understanding, kindness, and the true meaning of giving." Clara blushed slightly, but looked down modestly. "I did not mean to teach you, sir. I just try to live the way I believe is right, but I am glad it has made a difference." Cole stepped closer, feeling a warmth he could not describe. "It has made all the difference, Clara, and I hope we can continue to do good together, not for recognition, not for wealth, but for the joy it brings to others, for the spirit of Christmas, and for the spirit of what is right." Clara looked up at him, her eyes softening. "I would like that, sir, very much." The snow fell more heavily outside, covering the world in white. Inside, the fire burned brightly, and two hearts had learned lessons of generosity, integrity, and hope. Cole had discovered that wealth alone could never fill the emptiness inside him, and Clara had reminded him that the simplest acts of honesty and care could bring the greatest joy. That night, as the town slept peacefully, Cole and Clara sat together by the fire, quietly talking, laughing, and planning how they could continue to help the town and each other. They knew the road ahead would have challenges, but for the first time, both felt a sense of peace and purpose that could not be shaken. Outside, the wind howled, but inside the inn and the ranch, warmth and light surrounded them. It was a Christmas unlike any other, a Christmas not of wealth or gifts, but of heart, kindness, and the beginning of a bond that neither time nor distance could break. And for Cole, as he looked at Clara, he knew that this was the moment when he truly felt Christmas in his heart, not from the giving of gold, but from the giving of understanding, respect, and love. The morning after Christmas dawned bright and crisp. Snow blanketed the town and the surrounding countryside, turning rooftops, fields, and trees into a sparkling white wonderland. The sun reflected off the ice crystals, making everything glimmer as if the world itself had been decorated for the holiday. Clara woke early at the inn, stretching and listening to the quiet sounds of the town, the soft murmurs of people stirring, the clatter of hooves, and the faint ringing of church bells filled the air with a peaceful rhythm. She had spent the night reflecting on everything that had happened. Christmas had been unlike anything she had ever experienced. The joy she had helped bring to the town, the smiles on the children's faces, and the quiet satisfaction of honest work all filled her with warmth. She remembered the way Cole had spoken to her by the fire, the way he had acknowledged the lessons she had unknowingly taught him. For the first time, she felt that her determination and integrity had made a difference not just in her own life, but in someone else's heart as well. The cold air clung to his coat, and his boots crunched over the snow as he approached the front door. When Clara saw him, she greeted him with a smile, her cheeks still rosy from the winter chill. "Good morning, sir," she said warmly. "Good morning, Clara," Cole replied, his own voice gentle and calm. "I wanted to make sure you saw the town this morning, the streets. They are alive with joy. People are happy, and it is all because of your help, your care, and your heart." Clara shook her head modestly, It was not only my work, sir. You helped too, in your own way. And the town itself, they were part of it. Everyone contributed to the joy of Christmas today. Cole smiled, realizing she was right. True joy had come from the combined efforts of many hearts working with kindness and care. Perhaps, he said thoughtfully, but you were the one who reminded me what matters. You taught me that generosity is not about money or recognition, but about understanding, respect, and helping others. I did not mean to teach, sir. I simply tried to live the way I believe is right. But I am glad it had an impact. Together they stepped outside, walking slowly through the snow-covered streets of the town. Families peeked from their windows, children waved from doorways, and neighbors greeted them with warm smiles. Everywhere they went, laughter and light followed. Cole noticed the difference between this Christmas and every other one he had ever known. It was not about the gifts he had given or the wealth he possessed. It was about the happiness and hope that spread through the town because of simple acts of kindness. As they reached the town square, they saw children playing in the snow, their cheeks pink and their laughter ringing through the air. Some children were carrying small wooden toys. Others had little treats in their hands. Parents watched nearby, holding mugs of warm cider and exchanging cheerful greetings. Cole stopped to watch, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with his wealth. He realized that the joy, the laughter, the shared kindness, was the true spirit of Christmas. Clara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the sunlight on the snow. "It is beautiful, sir," she said softly. "I have never seen the town so happy. And the children, they will remember this Christmas for a long time." Cole nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "Yes. And it is all because you reminded me what is important. You gave me a gift that no money could ever buy, the gift of understanding, the gift of heart." For a long moment they walked together in silence, simply observing the town around them. Snowflakes fell gently, dusting their shoulders and hair, and the crisp air felt invigorating. It was as if the world itself was celebrating with them, acknowledging the change that had come not from wealth or power, but from kindness and integrity. Later that day, Cole invited Clara to visit his ranch once more. He wanted her to see the results of the work they had done together, not for himself, but for the animals and the land he cared for. As they arrived, Clara noticed how the ranch glistened under the snow, the fences repaired, the animals safe and warm in their stalls. The barns were tidy, the fields carefully tended, and the quiet beauty of the landscape seemed to reflect the peace that had entered Cole's heart. "You have done so much, Clara," Cole said, his voice quiet with admiration. "And yet you have never asked for anything in return. That is a rare gift. You have taught me the value of effort, honesty, and kindness." Clara smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I did what I believe is right, sir. That is all I can do. But I am glad it has brought happiness to others." Cole walked closer, his eyes meeting hers. "You have brought more than happiness, Clara. You have changed my heart. You have reminded me that true wealth is not measured in gold or land, but in the joy we create for others and the integrity we hold in our own hearts." Clara felt a soft flutter of emotion but kept her composure. "I am glad, sir," she said simply. "That is all I ever hoped for, to see goodness and kindness spread." The day passed with quiet celebration at the ranch. Cole arranged for the local families to visit, sharing food, warmth, and laughter. Children ran freely through the snow, guided by Clara and the ranch hands, while parents helped with chores and enjoyed the simple pleasure of community. It was a Christmas unlike any other, not because of lavish gifts, but because of the shared joy and the lessons of kindness and integrity that had guided every action. As evening fell, Cole and Clara returned to the main house. The fire burned brightly, casting a warm glow over the room. Cole poured 2 cups of cocoa and handed one to Clara, the simple gesture filled with genuine care rather than wealth. "You know," he said softly, "I have learned more this Christmas than in all the years I have lived. Money cannot buy respect, nor can it earn trust or love. Those things come from honesty, effort, and the courage to stand by your principles. And you've shown me that in ways I never expected." Clara's eyes softened. "I am glad to hear that, sir. It is all I ever hoped for. The people remember what truly matters." Cole reached out and placed a hand gently on hers. "Clara, I hope we can continue this work together. Not for recognition, not for wealth, but for the good we can do. For the joy of the town, for the spirit of Christmas, and for the hearts we touch along the way." Clara's smile grew warm and genuine. "I would like that, sir. Very much." From that day forward, the bond between Clara and Cole deepened. They worked side by side, helping the town, caring for the ranch, and spreading kindness wherever they could. Cole continued to learn from Clara's integrity, patience, and strength, while Clara found satisfaction in knowing that her actions could inspire others and make a difference in someone's life. The town itself thrived under their combined efforts. Families felt the joy of community, children laughed and played freely, and the spirit of giving and honesty became a quiet tradition that lasted well beyond that first Christmas together. People spoke of Clara's courage and Cole's newfound humility, and the two of them became symbols of hope, integrity, and the true meaning of generosity. Winter melted into spring, and the ranch blossomed under their care. Cole no longer measured success by wealth or possessions, but by the happiness and well-being of the people and animals around him. Clara continued to work with determination, her quiet strength inspiring everyone she met, and together they built a life that was richer than any treasure, a life filled with respect, care, and a love rooted in honesty and shared values. As Christmas approached the following year, the town remembered the lessons of the previous season. Families celebrated not with extravagance but with warmth, kindness, and community. And Cole, reflecting on the first Christmas he truly felt in his heart, knew that the greatest gift he had ever received was Clara herself, her integrity, her kindness, and the way she had shown him the true spirit of giving. Cole. On that snowy morning, as the sun rose over the town and the ranch, Cole and Clara stood side by side, watching children play and families share in quiet joy. The snow glistened, the air was filled with laughter, and for the first time Cole understood the true meaning of Christmas. It was not about gifts, wealth, or recognition. It was about the heart, the courage to do right, the willingness to care, and the joy that comes from sharing kindness with others. And as Clara looked up at him with her gentle smile, Cole knew with certainty that this Christmas, and every Christmas to come, would always hold a special place in his heart, not because of gold or land, but because of honesty, integrity, and the shared joy of giving.